Hello viewers, welcome to the first lecture of the series Introduction to Programming in C++. Myself Dr. Preeti Jagmani. I am Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science, Aryabhat College from University of Delhi. So as I have told you that this is our first lecture to the course named as Introduction to Programming in C++. So as the name indicates, we are going to learn basics of programming along with C++ in this course. So when I talk about, let's say, C++ or any other kind of language, let's say Java or C or maybe Python, whatever the language is. So what are these? So let us start from the situation that what actually these term which are appears, which sometimes appears as jargon terms like C++, Python, Java, what actually is the meaning. So these are all basically, I can say, are programming languages, or we can say examples of programming languages. Now what actually a programming language is and why it is needed. Now let's say, for example, I am sitting here and I want to get a task performed from a particular person. So what I need to do, I need to prepare a set of instructions in order to perform that particular task, and that set of instruction has to be passed to that person so that he or she can execute that set of instructions and we can get our job done. So basically, when you want to get a job done, you need to prepare a set of instructions, and this is what a program is. So a detailed set of instructions is a program. Now in case of if I am talking about a task which is to be done using a computer, or which is I want to get done through a computer, from a computer. So I need to tell the computer, I need to instruct the computer accordingly, and here is the role of programming languages. So programming languages are the languages which are used for expressing a set of detailed instructions for a digital computer. That means these programming languages are the languages through which we interact, we humans, we users interact with computers. So coming to the categories of these programming languages, we have basic three categories of programming languages: machine language, assembly language, and high level language. Apart from these, we can also divide these languages, that is machine language, assembly language, and high level language, into two categories, that is low level language and high level language, where machine language and assembly language belong to the category of low level languages. Now let us try to understand what is this low level language and what is this high level language. Considering the example of machine language. So machine language, I can say, is the native language of computer. That means, as you all are aware, that computer operates in binary digits, that is in terms of 0 and 1. So machine language is the native language of computer. That means all the program or all the instructions which comprises all the instruction set which forms a program will be written in the instructions of 0 and 1 only. And as it is the native language of computer, you don't need any translator. But yes, why it is known as low level language? Because I can say it requires a programmer to manage explicitly all of a computer's particular feature of data storage and operation. Now let us try to understand this statement with the help of an example. For example, I am working on machine A, which is a, let's say, 32-bit machine, and I have written a program in machine language. So in machine language, I'll be definitely, while writing that program, I'll be definitely using some core features which particularly belong to that machine only. For example, I am adding two numbers, let's say A and B. So where that A is stored, where that B is stored, particularly in that machine, that is to be taken care of in machine language using the storage locations and so on and so forth, and everything in terms of 0 and 1. Now what will happen? let's say I'm taking this program and I am trying to execute that program onto another machine. So on another machine that program will not be executed because I have used some specific instructions. Let's say, as I have told you, that machine is a 32-bit machine. Now I am transferring that to a 64-bit machine. So the architecture changes, and definitely the location of variables and other things in the memory which are hard coded in machine language, those will also be changing. So yes, program which is there for machine A written in machine language will not work on computer B or machine B. That's what we can say. So that means these programs which are written in machine language are computer dependent or device dependent, or I can say machine dependent. So program written for computer A will not work on computer B. Oops. Now this is a huge problem. So, and after that, another problem with machine language is the whole set of instruction is written in the form of 0 and 1. So if this is kind of, I can say this strategy is very error prone, because the moment you misses some bit or maybe interchanged a bit, the program is gone in a way. But yes, we don't need any kind of translator in order to explain these instructions to the computer, because computer understands binary language only. So machine language, once you have written the program, it executes fast. Fine. Coming to the second language in the category of low level languages, assembly language. So assembly language, instead of saying or instructing everything in binary, it is going to use short mnemonics or short codes for instructions, and it allows the programmer to introduce names for the blocks of memory that hold data. So yes, variable names can be introduced here, but again this is not the native language of the computer, and this is also machine dependent language. Machine dependent in the sense, I am again repeating it, program written for computer A will not be working for the program written on the computer will not be working on the computer B. So assembly language is also machine dependent language. So all these two, machine language and assembly language, are known as low level languages. While coming to the second category, which is the category of high level languages, high level languages allow a programmer to write the programs which are independent for a particular type of computer, independent of a particular type of computer. That means that program written for machine 1 or computer 1 will be executed without any changes onto machine 2 or computer 2. But as it is not the native language of computer, a translator is required. That means a software or program which converts the instruction set given by us into the language of the computer, or into the language which is understandable by the computer. That kind of a software program, that kind of a translator is required, and that translator could be a compiler or it could be an interpreter. I hope you must have heard these terms. And yes, in case of assembly languages, yes, assembly languages also needs a translator, because that is also not the native language of computer. But the basic difference, or the very prominent or very important difference between low level languages and high level languages is, low level languages are machine dependent or computer dependent, I can say, while high level languages are independent of any particular type of computer. But here machine language does not require any translator, while assembly language and high level languages require a translator. Now with this platform of categorization of programming languages, let me introduce some other high level languages or high level languages. So these high level languages are again distributed, or I can say categorized on the basis of the paradigm, or on the basis of strategy they work into. So with this I am having 4 categories of high level languages: imperative, functional, logic and object oriented, and we will consider all these 4 terms one by one. So considering the first category, which is imperative high level languages. Imperative high level languages is the language which is going to provide statements, for example assignment statements, and it is going to change the state of the memory of the computer. That is kind of language is imperative high level language. Then we have functional. So functional languages requires evaluation of mathematical functions which are expressed as computations. So the functional languages express computations as evaluation of mathematical functions. Coming to the next category, which is logic. All the languages which are based on the logic paradigm express computation in exclusively in terms of mathematical logic. So here logic formulation is done, and in terms of mathematical logic, which is also which is also called relation sometimes, that in terms of mathematical logic computation is being expressed, and that type of language is known as, or that type of category or that type of paradigm of high level language is known as logic languages. Then we have object oriented languages. So object oriented languages, as the name indicates, there is something which is known as object, and object is a kind of we can say a entity which belong to class and which are usually structured into a hierarchy, and many data structures as well as behaviors are associated with this objects. So object oriented programming, yes, in this lecture we are going to cover in much greater depth, because C++ is based on this paradigm only, which is object oriented programming or object oriented paradigm, which is known as OOP, object oriented paradigm. So C++ belongs to this object oriented category, and within this category what actually happens that we have some objects, and those objects belongs to class, and these objects are having some data structures as well as some behavior which is associated with that object. So I'll be elaborating this concept in detail in a few minutes. But before this I just want to mention here that all these 4 paradigms, which is imperative, functional, logic and object oriented, this list of paradigms is not exclusive, but yes, it is reflecting the different emphasis of language designer, but there is an overlap which is possible. So most practical, imperative, functional and object oriented programming languages embody features of more than one paradigm. That means they are not restricted, or there is not kind of, I can say, a watertight compartment. That means the language which is kind of object oriented cannot be imperative, or which is imperative cannot be functional. So no watertighting compartment is here. Many languages embody features of more than one paradigm. Now coming to our kind of, we can say, base of this series, which is introduction to C++. So from this point onwards we are going to start with our language, which is C++, and it belongs to, as I have told you, to the paradigm of object oriented languages. Now this is basically a language which was developed by Bjarne Stroustrup at AT&T Bell Laboratories in somewhere in mid 1980s. So basically when I am talking about the term C++, so C++ is basically, I can say, is an extension of C, and what is being extended here is the language C by adding some features. What features are there in C++ which are not available in the language C is we have added some objects to it. That means we are introducing a flavor of object oriented paradigm, while we are also preserving the efficiency of C programs. Here I would like to mention one thing, that C at most of the time is known as a middle level language. Now why it is known as a middle level language? Because like the low level languages of machine language and assembly language, it utilizes the hardware features better, and the instructions can be written in the manner as we write for any other high level language. So it is I can say taking the characteristics of high level language as well as low level language both. So sometimes programmers call it as a middle level language, and yes, trust me that this is kind of one of the languages which is very efficient in order to utilize the features of hardware. So we need C++. What actually this C++ is doing? C++ has extended C by adding some more features of object oriented paradigm like objects and some others to it, and on the other hand it is also preserving the efficiency of C programs. So yes, I can say a win-win situation, both the sides. It is preserving the efficiency as well as it is adding object oriented functionality into the C. And one thing more here, if I am talking about the term C++, so plus basically is an operator in C++ language which represents increment. So when I say C++, so we can connect the dots here, that C++ is an kind of increment or improvement over the C. So C with an improvement or increment operator has become C++, and it was kind of we can say old legacy, old language, but yes, with it is old as it was kind of I can say invented in mid 1980s, but this really doesn't mean that this is not used nowadays. It is still used in kind of some very particular applications for which only C++ is kind of a very suitable language. Now if you can see the figure, I can say C++ is having the features of C there, then it is also having features of object oriented programming, and it is also having some extension which are exception handling and templates. So we will be exploring all these functions, all these functionalities over this within this course in our upcoming lectures. So C++ is having basic features of C, yes, they are present. Then it is having object oriented programming, because C is not an object oriented programming, it's I can say a kind of procedural, or it's a functional programming language. Then we have kind of was some extensions along with the C and object oriented programming features, and these extensions are exception handling and templates both. So all these things are included in C++ if we see at a if we can see at a macro level, and then yes, obviously we will be kind of learning all these features in this course. Yeah. So now, as I told you that it was invented in mid 1980s, but it is still kind of widely used because it is still a most important languages for industrial programming as well as for educational purposes. So I can say it is having a wide wide number of extensive applications. For example, many operating systems are itself written in C. You will find large parts of various operating systems written in C++, Also C++ along with Java has become the popular choice for developing commercial software packages that incorporate multiple interrelated applications. So there also C++ is preferred also, and Java also is there. Then why it is considered as one of the fastest language? Because it is very close to low level languages, as I told you in context to C. So why, as it is close to low level language, it allows complete control over memory allocation and management. So it is, yes, obviously it is having a good control over memory allocation and management, and this is one of the reasons why it is considered as kind of fastest languages. Then if we want to name the application areas where this C++ language is still used, so C++ language is still the first choice for game programmers. That means in order to do the coding for games, C++ is widely used. Then all GUI based applications, yes, C++ is preferred because you have good facilities for handling GUI uses. Then for writing database software, C++ is a choice. Operating systems are written in C++, I have already told you. Then we have many graphical situations where, or graphical programs where C++ is used. Then in many banking applications, yes, it has been used. And apart from this, it is also used not only in the standalone applications, but in the applications of cloud and distributed systems also we use C++. So this was kind of, I can say, a non-exclusive list of where to use C++ or what could be the possible application areas where C++ can be used, or it will be good to use C++ there. But yes, because it's a high level languages, and high level languages are actually kind of focused on a particular type of applications, not a particular type of applications I can say, but for some usage. So we cannot say that we are going to use C++ everywhere. So there are some areas where C++ is not to be used, and we have what are these application areas. So where small system programs are to be written, C++ is not a good choice, as well as where we need fast prototyping, there also C++ is not required. Also in web based applications, C++ we need not to use. Instead we can use Perl or a very kind of popular languages nowadays, which is Python. So for web based applications we can use Perl or Python, but C++ is obviously not for a choice for web based applications or the applications where we need some fast prototyping or small system programs. But yes, this is the first choice, as I've told you, for the designers of game applications, or I can say this is also the first choice for kind of application programmer which deals with kind of graphics, or those who are dealing in we can say designing database software. So C++ is there a choice. So here in this lecture what we have seen is, we have started from what actually the programming language is, and then what are the categorization available for programming languages. There we have seen low level languages and high level languages. Then we have studied what is the difference between this low level languages and high level languages, and then within high level languages sorry, what are the paradigms which are available for high level languages, and where this C++ is standing within those paradigms, obviously with object oriented paradigms, and what is the I can say what actually C++ is as compared to C, when we can say what are the additions, or as an entity, how do you describe C++, then coming to applications, where to use that and where not to use that. So we have covered all those all these points in detail in this lecture. Hope you have enjoyed the lecture. Thank you.